Hi guys, Richie here. Richie rides the winter. Well, not quite the winter. In December, getting a little chilly, -5 C. So, time to talk about winter riding, how to dress for it, what kind of bike you need, how to get your bike ready, tires, and maybe some tips on how to ride. So I'm gonna just start from my neighborhood here and then just go out and find a space where I can, a nice area where we can go over some of these details. But right now, I'll just show you kind of how I do it in Sudbury, because our infrastructure is kind of messed up. As you can see, this is really narrow here. So rather than, battle with traffic, I'm going to take the sidewalk. And even though in some municipalities this is not legal, it's kind of tolerated around here because our infrastructure is kind of, they never built roads with bikes up until recently. And the city is doing a good job. They're certainly not to criticize. They are doing an excellent job. There's money that is allocated and it's being spent wisely, I think. Our snow removal is another thing, but they're working on that as well. I think the last city council and mayor kind of dropped the ball on it, and we have a new one now, which seems to be more responsible. So as you can see, this is still covered in snow. It's never really been properly removed, but there is some sand on it. Now I'll kind of start fitting in with the traffic, and then I'll bust up my power too as I go in there. All right. So, if you see, oh yeah, we'll just wait for this to turn green here. I'm going to kind of slide in here into the traffic, and I'm going to increase my speed to try to keep up, or doing a temp. I got my mirror adjusted. I got enough space behind me. Now you can see one of the techniques I just did right there is I kind of dropped the bike and let it kind of carve around. And I also made sure that I didn't do that on ice. What that does, that gives you a bit of a more positive turn instead of fully leaning the body. So I can go a little faster. Bike's not really that energetic today. Maybe it's me as well. But this is pretty fast here. And I'm not impeding traffic. One of the things I don't like about riding with vehicles, especially on roads that are faster than this, is that you create, you have distracted drivers. You get drivers that are easily pissed off too. So I just I don't know. I just rather avoid it. More the distracted drivers that bother me more than anything else. So I'll just keep riding like a vehicle until I guess I'm gonna we'll go to Delky Dozy Park. Who's just coming up there. Whew. Some nice areas in that part of town. Okay, let's go. Okay, we'll go up here. Okay. The other thing I don't like about riding with traffic is it's just anxiety inducing. So you know, I just instantly relax as soon as I get off the roads. That's why I prefer trails and side streets. So let's talk about the bike. So as you know, I got a converted Rockhopper, specialized Rockhopper. It's an older one. I got it for very cheap. I didn't pay much for it, but I like the frame. I knew it was a good solid frame to put a BBS02, Bafang BBS02 on it. I think that was a great combination. I could have went with a newer bike, but I was used to this configuration because it's a bit like the Marin bike I had before. I had for a few years. I used to ride a lot. I really liked. And so I knew what I was getting with this bike. I wasn't so sure about the Bafang. I did some studying on that. And although it has like a cadence sensor, which means as soon as you start spinning, it accelerates. And then you got to push for a little bit more. But I have it set up that way where I have it so it only accelerates to a certain point. And then I have to muscle it past, and then as I muscle it past, the power decreases slightly. So when you get those tuned, they kind of balance out. So it feels more natural, even though it is an assist. And so that means that when you have it on like power 5, you tend to go a certain speed, like because of your cadence, your legs will spin at a certain speed. Then when you go to 6, it'll bump up more, and 7 even more, and 8 even more, until to about as fast as you can spin your legs. And so, if you want to keep your overall speed down, like down here, you bring it to 4, and then your legs will be slower. And there's also less power going to the wheel. There's like about a 15% difference in power between. And like here we are on like ice. And so we'll concentrate on here is try to stay upright. Oh. This is Right, so you just go slow and you stay upright on the ice. And if you're going to turn, another thing with winter riding is you're going to have like good traction and not so good traction. And so what you want to do is you want to do your turns on where you have good traction and straighten up when you're over ice and snow, so your forces are not lateral. And that sometimes means you got to straighten up, dip, straighten up, that kind of motion. You'll see me do that if you watch me ride. I do that kind of almost like a second nature. So here's a really steep climb up here. So it's steep climb coming up. So I'm going to keep it in power 3, and I'm going to bump it up a bit, the power, and then get it so my cadence is right around where if I go faster it'll start to lower, and then I could adjust the kind of amount of pressure that I put on. Now if you look at my last video, I talk about like I have a kind of a bit of a high heart rate, and so what I want to do is I want to do less exertion right now until I get this kind of under control, and rely more on the motor, which is a great thing why an electric bike is really a good idea for guys that are my age. Kind of active when you're younger and want to get more into the old, back into it. All right. So you see here, I'm gonna turn straight. So I do my turning first. Okay. So here, And that you can do by dipping a bike. I'll do that. I'm going to go do a couple laps around the park, around Belkadozi. So this is a pretty cool place here. This is like a cycle park. All right. All right, let's go over this. This bike's a bit dirty, but so what we have here is these Ice Biker Pro tires that are studded. That's why they're making a noise in the front and in the back to about 50 pounds. So that helps tremendously, a whole lot. And then I kind of jam this rear fender here into underneath my rack and just kind of scooped it in, because what I had before was kind of crappy. Nothing else really fits, so this is just kind of like it's supposed to be attached to your seat post and goes out, but I have it kind of underneath the rack just for practicality. I talk about my Brooks saddle I really like, and this suspension post is really nice. But the winter thing, so here, this big mess here, this is again with the idea of being winterized. This is rubber tape. It's waterproof. It's kind of, you know, it's a big blob because it's really wrapped up. But under here is the electronics that I have for my light. There's a relay and a converter so that I can have a high-powered light running off the battery and not a separate battery thing. Of course, there's the motor. And I put a fender here to keep this dry. Now, this is a small battery, not the greatest battery in the world, but it fits. And I have it kind of secured here with these big zap straps to keep it from moving. We also have a zap strap on the motor to keep the motor tucked up, and it's been good. I haven't greased it. I haven't done anything. This is my second winter on this thing, and as far as I'm concerned, if it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix it. I'm not going to take it apart and grease it until it starts making noise or until I have to replace something. So that's how my approach is on that. Also, these shocks, really good. So this overall package, I think, is pretty close to ideal when it comes to a converted bike. Like, I really like it. Like, I wouldn't do much different. Maybe a slightly larger frame and some better brakes, because I have the cantilever rim brakes. But I don't have any. I don't go shit. I don't feel like I'm in danger. I just got to squeeze a little harder, but it stops just fine. So I'm not concerned about that. The other thing that's important if you're going to do a conversion, I think, is to get a larger chain and a larger sprocket. So this is a 7-speed sprocket. 7-speed chain, which is a larger millimeter than the chain that came with this, than like a 10-speed or 9-speed or 12-speed or even thinner. So this is a thicker chain, and it's going to be more durable. It's going to take the torque better. And also the wide range in the back here, this rear sprocket here goes from, I think it's 34 or 36 to 11. So this is a very wide range, which is just right. Now I chose to go with a little bit of a larger front sprocket. I think it's 46 tooth. There's a little bit of play here. Again, and that's just how you could go with a smaller one, but I kind of like to keep up with the traffic and prefer the speed. Okay, so that's the bike. And someday I'll do a refresher on the programming. Mind you, I do have a video on the programming that I did with this bike, and it's still the same program that I did I don't know, a few months ago. So you could look at that video and see how I got the programming with the cable and the app to change the cadence sensor so that it's more tailored to the bike and my riding style, so it feels comfortable. All right, so let's do 1 or 2 laps around this park here and see what kind of conditions we got. Okay, I'm exaggerating this a little bit because I think this is important if you don't want to wipe out. I think this is an important skill. Come to think of it, especially if you don't have studded tires. Okay, if you don't have studded tires, you have to be careful when you're changing directions and you're on ice. I'm tempted to go on that lake, but I don't know. Okay, so I'm just going to keep the speed kind of reasonable here because We do have variable conditions. I'm tempted to go on that lake. I'm not going to though. So here looking ahead, I can see there's a clear pavement. So I go around the snow. Of course, when you're in traffic, you're very limited at what you can do. And that's one of the reasons why I don't deal with traffic so much. That I'll go on the sidewalk. Again, you know, assuming that it's clear. Usually it is. Just because I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm going to A, wipe out, or B, jet out in front of somebody who's passing me or not, who doesn't see me. I also forgot to mention I have a rear light that a stoplight that I haven't shown you there. It's a really cool track here. All right. Okay, guys, so the other thing I didn't talk about, we can talk about this. I'll do another rip. How to dress up. Now, I'm slightly overdressed. What I got right now is I got a t-shirt, a heavy hoodie, like the blue hoodie that I have, and then my winter jacket, which is kind of a thin shell lined jacket. And I have a heavier jacket than this if it gets colder, but I at that point it's too cold for me to ride anyway. And this is good for about like -10 to -5. Above that, I will go with a thinner jacket, a thinner hoodie. I use the same gloves, not quite cold enough for my ski gloves. The ski gloves are kind of bulky. So I just went with these work gloves. I get these at the Home Hardware for like 15 bucks. They're just work gloves. And they're dipped, so they're nice. They have that wind reflection, and then here they have the ability to get rid of sweat. So venting at the top, that's perfect. So this design is really good for I think, and it's inexpensive and perfect for this type of weather right now. Pants are lined, kind of like a snow pant, but not a heavy one. And I'm just wearing my steel toe shoes there, my Dickies for when I'm on site doing my events, and I just go with thicker socks if I need it. Again, by the time if I need to get anything more than this, then it's just too cold because I won't really ride below -15, -20. Then the battery life, I don't know. Then I don't really know. I went out once when it was that cold. It was too much, and I also have my ski helmet on. And I'm just right. I start out a little bit sweaty. That's this thing when you dress up and then you're getting ready, you tend to sweat, and then you go riding and then you get cold. So you have to kind of gauge it so you don't put too much clothes on. And also you're exercising, so you should be slightly chilled when you leave. Not cold, but I mean where you feel like it's a bit cold, and then just let your exercise warm you up and fill up that gap. Also your face will kind of get used to this cold as well. Okay, right, so I guess we'll mosey on back, and I don't know if there's anything else. I'll just kind of just ride, and if there's something else I missed or I think of, I'll bring it up. But can you ride in the winter? Absolutely. Highly recommend to have studded tires. If you don't have studded tires, just be very careful of how your technique. Bend your bike. I'll do it right here. Okay. Like go straight when there's not much traction, and then bend the bike. Drop the handlebar as you turn. Yeah, we'll give some speed here. So going around the corner, and then drop the handlebar, and then turn, and the bike will kind of carve. And it also, there's a weight distribution thing that makes it so you can turn better before you're, like, you'll have a better ability to turn by doing that. You're not, again, it's not because you're racing, it's because, or you're trying to get around the fat. It's just you don't want your front wheel to go out. And if you tilt your entire body, you put a little bit more force on there because your center of gravity is a little bit higher. Whereas this, if you drop it, then you have that, you can apply it, you get a better turn without worrying about wiping out. So that it's hard to explain the mechanics of that, but it just lowers your center of gravity. It gives you a better advantage when you're turning. Yeah. And the other thing I don't do, again, this is mostly to do with my municipality here, is I don't tend to go do a left turn and then another left turn. Like if I'm going to go this way, I'm just going to stick on the wrong side of the road. I apologize. But it's just, that's just how I'm going to do it. And that's it. Now, if it was an enforceable bylaw that I was breaking, I wouldn't. But there ain't no police officer is going to stop and pull me over for this right now. That just doesn't happen around here. So it's not enforced because it's obvious why. The roads are not built for cyclists, and there's hardly anybody on the road. Nobody's complaining. So we'll just do that. Okay, so I think we'll just leave it here for now. I can't think of anything else. So anyway, thanks for coming in. Thanks for tuning in. And please like and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed the ride.